Success Insight shares the stories of the people with passion and drive who make things happen in the world. Here's your host, Howard Fox.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Mindset Monday with Andrée Martin on the Success Insight podcast. Andrée is your leadership, mindset, and golf performance coach. She's an LPGA Class A Life member and nationally recognized top 50 golf teacher and expert, and a member of the Maine Golf Hall of Fame, recognizing golf's value as a business tool in today's competitive marketplace. Andrée works with individuals, groups, corporate, or organizational clients to create educational and team-building programs that enhance the professional success of aspiring executives. Andrée, welcome back to Mindset Monday. Pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Howard. It's always a pleasure to be with you and talking about our Mindset Mondays, continuing to grow and improve our mindset so that we have success both in business and golf and life, for that matter.
You bet. And I have to say, I think I might have mentioned this during our September episodes. I've always enjoyed the Think Box, Go Box. And for our listeners, if you go back to some earlier episodes, you're going to hear a lot about that. But one of Andrée's ongoing mantras, and one that I'm just kind of making it part of my mantras as well, is going for the gold and don't settle for silver. And I know this is going to be another episode where our listeners and clients that Andrée would support or I would support, you're going to get some great mindset tips from today's episode. So Andrée, why don't you start us off?
Absolutely. And welcome, everyone. We're glad you're here. Today's topic is, I am what I tell myself. And are you going to go for the gold, or are you going to just settle for silver? What are you going to tell yourself?
When I'm thinking about I am what I tell myself, it's kind of like our inner voice. Is that what we're talking about today?
Yes. We're talking about that inner critic, the inner voice that is always trying to gain our attention and watch out for us. We have the ego that's involved as well, and we can get into more of that a little bit more on the next episode. But today, I'm glad you mentioned the Think Box, Go Box, because I have had a couple students just today, actually, 2 very specific lessons all about mindset. They asked for it. And we get out on the golf course and we were talking. And as I'm catching her, she's just stepping up to the ball and whacking it. And it's like, well, what intention do you have? What are you saying to yourself? What are you doing? Her big concern was in pressure situations, she plays better, but when she's playing with certain players, it changes. And then her game gets affected. And so, again, I started paying attention to the language she was using, how she was really speaking to herself. And so I've got 2 examples because it's 2 different scenarios. She played 4 or 5 really good holes, and she was with a friend of hers who was not as strong a player as she was. And then she started playing poorly and all of a sudden started losing her game. And then all of a sudden, I got to get it back. And then she couldn't get it back. And I said, well, why? She goes, well, I don't want them to feel bad. And I said, yeah, but you're tanking your golf game. Why would you do that? And so it was an interesting conversation. And then I kept listening to what she was saying and how she was saying it. And she was more worried about the external, about what everybody else is saying. And how often does that happen in the workplace, Howard?
I think it happens a lot.
Absolutely. I encounter that in every coaching call. Even when I'm coaching my coaching clients that want to improve their ability within their career, they're talking about scenarios at work and how they are not authentically allowing themselves to be who they are. That is everything in the language that we use.
Is this they're afraid of however they are, the perception of others?
Well, I think in this particular case with the student, what I found as we progressed within our time together is, as women, sometimes we're told to be nice to people, be a good girl, I find it more in business women than men, but there are businessmen that experience this as well. And so you just kind of back off to make them feel more welcome at your own expense, but then you're not allowing yourself the pleasure and the joy of the full experience, right?
Sure.
And so I stood back and I got her back in the think box and I said, okay, but what if it was this scenario instead of you worrying about what they thought or going down to their level, have you ever thought about the fact that your game is actually better than theirs and that they're enjoying watching you play? She goes, oh, I don't want that. Then I'll get all nervous in a whole new way.
Oh my.
And I say, okay, listen to what you're saying again. And then I said, what if, and here's your mindset shift, folks. What if you were the example for this higher handicap player and they could look up to you and get excited about playing up to your level, and you get to show them how good you are and how well you really play and can play and how much fun golf really can be. And if you think about it, that's mentorship in business.
And I was actually thinking that's where this student of yours should have been going. She had a unique opportunity not only to go out there and play her best game possible,
right,
but she's also going to be a role model and perhaps give a spark to her friend to up her game.
Right. That was the conversation. And as soon as we said that, her whole body language, her facial expression, everything shifted. Instead of worrying about not being good enough to sustain, becoming the mentor, the mentee, and playing your best possible and really showing by example is truly the best way to mentor anybody, whether it's sport or business. I mean, we foster that all the time. And then in a shift to playing with better players, and I love these analogies to golf. So we're playing with better players, and all of a sudden, okay, here we go. Here's a different scenario about the think box, go box. You play harder, you try harder, you start playing worse because all of a sudden you're getting tighter and tighter and tighter, trying. Well, when you're trying, you're in your head. You're not playing. You either try or you do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the think box, I gave her an exercise that I want to share with everybody on this call today. I'm going to give you a little bonus.
Sure.
So anytime in business, when I remember when I was first in the corporate world of golf, and I had to go into my boss's office and I had something really important to share, and my breathing would be way up in my throat. Everything would be tight. I could barely get the words out of my throat in the very beginning of my career. And if I had known this one thing, it would have been so much easier. So I've used this in golf for a very long time, and it really helps me because I'm teaching so much, I'm not actually playing enough. And so when I shared this, it's a little yoga technique where you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds. And you could do that a couple times. You can do that in the think box while you're waiting for somebody else to take their turn. You can do it on your way to your next shot, and nobody needs to know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So this is all about that preparation, isn't it?
Yeah.
And now with that preparation, just when you do that, folks, if you do that one more time, breathe in for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4. Howard, notice what that just did with the breathing in your body.
Certainly a calming effect.
A total calming effect. And it went from your throat down into your lower chest where it belongs. And there's a lightness, and it's another way of burying all that tension in the ground. I've often said you want effortless power, not powerful effort when you're playing good golf. In the zone, that's exactly what that is.
A wonderful technique.
Yes, it is. And if I had that in business early on, oh my gosh, it would have been even more amazing. Just that one small thing. Another thought is again, what am I telling myself? I'm going to mess up in this interview, or I'm going to mess up in this round of golf. Well, what are you really telling yourself? It's kind of like, don't think about a pink elephant. Don't think about a pink elephant. what are you seeing? So what do you really want instead? You want to nail that interview. You want to have your best round ever, right? You are what you think about. It's all a choice. So I've often had people come to me and say, if I can't figure out this game, I'm giving it up. You're my last resort. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, golf is all a choice. I've never had anybody come to me for a lesson where I told them to turn around and leave because everyone has ability. And it's a matter of what we do as coaches is we find the gifts within that person.
Right.
So we got to find out how everybody ticks. And folks, if you're out there listening to this podcast, everything we say and do is a choice. You can say, I can do it, or you can say, I can't. Anyone can. And as Yoda says, there is no cannot, there's only do.
Do or do not, there is no try.
There you go, Howard. I knew you'd like that one.
There you go. Very good. This saying, I am what I tell myself, it's very similar to, what you think about, you bring about, and
yes,
stepping up and with choice and with a focus of what you want to achieve versus giving into what you can't do, because as you rightly have shared, that can take on a life all its own, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes, it is. It is. So keep in mind, here's one other piece that adds to this whole mindset piece. What you do and how you do one thing is how you do anything. So if you're stressing and making things harder and harder, what are the areas of your life are you continuing to do that in? And again, bringing back, okay, it's all a choice. Everybody can do it. You just think you cannot. But is it that, or is it something you really don't want to do? All right. So I don't want to do something. How are you going to flip that around? Because oftentimes in business, you have to do something you don't want to do.
Right.
So how do you get yourself in the mindset and frame to do it? Well, if you're going to go for the gold, there are days you got to get up early and get out there and exercise when nobody else wants to.
Right.
And they're the ones that become champions. So again, if how you do one thing is how you do everything, what are you going to tell yourself? And how are you going to show up today? So what I'd like to do is close this episode, and we're going to expand on this even more in the next episode, but I want to give you 3 steps. First, you want to catch yourself speaking negatively. Maybe that inner critic is parked right up front and center. Instead of that attaboy, attagirl attitude, yes, we can, or just, and if you're not that kind of a motivated person, everything you say and do is a choice. So what choice do you want to make in this moment? It's all yours and how you choose to use it. So you get an opportunity now to reframe. What do I want instead? And just keep asking yourself until you get your true answers. And then finally, act now. Do it now.
I love it. Well, once again, sheer brilliance and a lot of good nuggets of insight for our listeners, Andrée. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Howard.
Before we head out, just a reminder for our listeners, if they would like to learn more about you and your work, where are the best places for them to go?
The best places for them to go are my website, which is andreegolf.com. That's Andrée with 2 E's. And I'm also available on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. We have all these episodes, obviously, on Spotify. And I'm also on Instagram.
Sounds like a plan. Well, we'll definitely provide all those backlinks to the website and to your social sites. So once again, thank you so much. And we're looking forward to a future episode of Mindset Monday on the Success Insight podcast.
Thank you very much, Howard.
All right, folks. You've just been listening to Mindset Monday with Andrée Martin, our leadership mindset and golf performance coach on the Success Insight podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode. You've got a lot of ways to learn more about not only this content, but about Andrée. You can visit her on her website, again, andreegolf.com, as well as her social sites, and we will provide all those backlinks for you. You can find us on successinsightpodcast.com, as well as our Facebook and LinkedIn pages, Success Insight Podcast. We're on the major podcasting platforms, Amazon Music, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast. We are now available on Audible, so you can download our episodes there. Pandora, iHeartRadio, and as Andrée alluded to, Spotify, where we have a playlist entirely devoted to Mindset Monday with Andrée Martin. So do check out those episodes as well if Spotify is your cup of tea. Wherever you're going, we would love to hear a comment about today's episode, what you thought about it, likes, the insights, and really, feel free to share this with your friends as well, because every episode with Andrée is chock full of golden nuggets that will help take you to the gold so you don't have to settle for silver. Okay, folks, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, go out there, have a phenomenal day. Practice social distancing if it makes sense. Wear your mask if it makes sense. And we will see you on a future episode of Mindset Monday with Andrée Martin on the Success Insight Podcast. Take care now.
Success Insight is a production of Fox Coaching and First Story Strategies. Find us online, successinsightpodcast.com.